Is it okay if I post the screenshots for the context of what I did clarify and about what I said?
Yeah, that's fine.
Here, yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
can.
can hear you.
Okay, so before we talk about let's just determine what we're trying to do in this conversation. So
Yep.
yeah, you're quiet. Is that just me or is he
Oh,
quiet?
no, I'll turn. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So my basic opinion is just like Fish is a good community member. I'd rather not see you guys have a falling out. So let's see if we can resolve whatever the actual disagreement is, but also resolve the tension.
Sure.
So what's maybe best? I don't know what you guys want to I don't know how you want to approach it. Like, do you want to just try to talk about the actual topic and figure it out?
It's no, I don't. My main issue is just with a lot of the things that he's been saying uh, about me, and to some extent Ethan as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
When
Ethan,
you're
I
saying
spoke.
it, get
I spoke to
well,
Ethan.
yeah, just
Wait,
just
yeah. So
one sec though. Just when you say an issue, do you mean you think it's like not true, or you just mean like it's just kind of like
I'm
disrespectful?
not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just not even sure what he's talking about, to be honest.
Okay, so you just want to understand his point of view?
Yeah, pretty much. I just
Okay.
want to. So, well, I can. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, let's just you say your thing first.
Yeah, I mean, there's just. I mean, he's posted them in the chat, but there are a lot of things that he said that I'm not sure what he's talking about. I don't know like what he's referring to when he says these things. Um, yeah, I just kind of want to either get him on record saying that he was not referring to me and that he doesn't actually think this, or if he does think this, I'd like to actually have him substantiate what he's saying. Um, it's in a yeah, I'll have to check to
yeah,
see if
I'm,
there's
Okay.
anything else, but
I'm
that's
happy
like
to
the
do
main
that.
thing.
And okay, and like I mean, I'm just gonna assume here the thing that's like frustrating is just like obviously someone who you like respect and has like you've agreed with on a lot of stuff. You've been around the community for a long time, and yet there's like things being said that you don't currently think are true and that seem like really negative about you. So that's like upsetting, and also you're not sure if it's true. That's like the situation, kind of.
I think that's a fair enough summary. Sure.
Okay, so yeah, like it might be worth noting that like I mean I'll hear everything Avi has to say too, but like just to bring the temperature down, like the upset is coming partially from him like respecting you and caring about your opinion, and you're saying something harsh about him. So I do this all the time. I can't help it. I just end up saying what I think, and then it ends up being really mean, and I feel bad after. But okay, Avi, and what's your side? What is your concern here? Just
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if I have a concern. I mean, I'm sorry that to have hurt Fish's feelings. I don't want. It's not my intention.
More
Um,
so, I'm just. Oh, go ahead. I don't want it to
But
finish.
yeah,
Yeah.
let him talk now.
Yeah.
um, I I mean, my concern, I guess, is just that I don't want to be. I try to be very clear about the things I say about people. It's not. I don't. Sometimes I don't always do the best job, but I do think in this case that I've clarified the attributes of what I've said that I attribute to Ethan and that were harsh, and I've clarified the attributes that I attribute to Fish that were harsh, and there's not a full overlap there. And then some of the aspects are not just Ethan and Fish; they're Ethan and someone else, or Ethan Fish and someone else. Um, Wait, hold on. Could we just whoever just posted that screenshot? Because I'm posting my screenshots for the record. Could we just like keep that current? That
What's
we can
just
see
this
infinite
I'm
screen.
sorry screenshot? I'll just delete that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So would it be fair to say for you it's not particularly personal. You're not really trying to upset anyone. You just want to like get whatever the facts are straight.
Yeah, I want to be clear. So I have a goal of being clear about what my views are about different people. I understand that it could be challenging when I'm talking about like three or more people, and not there's not perfect overlap about all the harsh things I'm saying. So I can understand the initial confusion about what I'm saying, and someone taking offense that I might be saying something about them I'm not. But I do think that I've done a good job at clarifying very shortly after, if not definitely within the same day over text. If and voice calls with people asking me to clarify over the after that about which components I attribute to which people. So
Okay,
I
and
yeah.
and I guess one other thing, just like again, because we're not just trying to figure out the truth here, we're trying to also like sort of resolve the like tension a bit. Because again, I'd like Fish to stay around if he feels like it.
Yeah, more so it
I
is.
think
Oh, go ahead. No, finish.
yeah, I was just gonna say I know Avi well enough. I'm sure he'll like agree with this. Like, what if he's saying something like this person is just like ideologically deranged on that, that does not necessarily mean that he personally dislikes you, right? Like he might just have formed that judgment about you. So that might still be a harsh and frustrating thing to hear, but I guess a more neurotypical kind of person saying that it would come with like that person must dislike you if they're saying that. But I just want to emphasize I don't really think that's true with Avi. Like he might say something like that and still be like totally fine with you. I don't know if he disagrees with anything I just said there, Avi.
No, not at all. I don't have anything personal against him. The only I guess the only I guess even the server thing, like except for like maybe the server thing, I think the only personal like um up until like a few moments ago, actually, I didn't have anything personal, any personal issues. I probably don't even have a big personal issue with them because I can understand that the situation was heated in my server. The only personal thing that I would have is just that I asked to not be overtalked or that I would mute. That happened very quickly. I muted. I said, "Listen, this is my place. This is my space. I'm asking you to respect it. If not, then leave." And basically, I was told like, "Okay, I can't do this here." Basically, okay, well, I'm not going to respect it. Is what I took it to be, and
Okay.
then happened.
Yeah. So you
But
felt like he was just kind of saying like "fuck you," I'm not gonna listen, sort of thing.
yeah. And like
Like
other yeah,
disrespectful.
and to be clear, even in that, I don't take it to be like a huge disrespect because I understand the context around it. I understand he was heated. I understand like maybe he was trying to say that like, okay, well, I feel like I need to like have a neutral moderator. I feel like I need to, um, a place that we could both hear each other out. I understand
Yeah.
those concerns.
It's
So
like
I don't.
something that you're not gonna put up with. It's like not acceptable, but it's forgivable.
Yeah, exactly. Like I understand it.
Sure.
It's not,
Yeah,
yeah,
like you're not gonna sit there with someone who's gonna talk to you like that, but you're also are understanding of it, and it's not something you're gonna like form
right.
some like horrible permanent okay.
But to be
All right,
clear,
Fish, what were you trying? Oh,
yeah, but
sorry, yeah.
before that, I don't have anything personal. Like nothing I said was like a personal thing, and at least
Yeah.
from my yeah.
Well, I know that about you, but I don't know how obvious that is to people, which is why I said it. But yeah, okay. So before we actually talk about like the
Yeah.
topic, was there anything else, Fish?
It's less so about. I mean, I don't. Let me maybe I'll just say this is how I perceive the. I I guess I'll just say like this is how like I perceive the situation to be, because I don't want to like I could be misinformed. Um, it's less so about like you not personally liking me. I mean, I don't want you to dislike me, but it's more so about like I don't know, like I kind of like consider this behavior to be like beneath you, to be honest. Like I don't know. Maybe like maybe I am misunderstanding, but I guess it's just kind
Well,
of like yeah, go ahead.
by this behavior, you mean saying harsh things, or you mean
N-
saying harsh things that aren't true?
yeah, the latter. That
Yeah,
I'm
because
not
the
I'm not
yeah,
convinced are true. Yeah.
because you're not okay. Okay, but this is probably what the problem is, right? Because say that it turns out that they are true. Would you think in that, and even if not, just say that he genuinely believes them. In either of those cases, would you think that something egregious has happened?
No, I would be like less. I would be like less. I mean, if he doesn't like me, that's not the end of the world. No.
Well, I don't think he's saying he doesn't like you.
I know that. I'm just saying like if it's not like the main thing is just yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like
To be clear, I do like him. By the way,
yeah. It's
yeah,
that's not
Okay,
the that's
not-
fine. Yeah.
well, okay. So I think we can all agree he's not lying, right? He believes whatever he's saying. we can resolve whether it's true, or try to resolve that in a second. But I mean, if he's
Yeah.
saying things that he genuinely believes that are harsh about you, he's not saying it from a place of personal disdain. He's just like, this is just,
Yeah.
he's just saying something that's like annoying that he's like observed.
Well,
He's
and
not
this
trying
is
to be a dick about it.
I'll get into that later. We'll just go one by one. I don't wanna jump all over the place. So never mind.
Okay, well, I'm just saying because you said the thing that is bothering you
Well,
is it's beneath you, but if the part of it being beneath you is that the things are actually false, or that he like believes they're false, it's like if he actually thinks it, then, or if it turns out being true, then it's not gonna meet your conditions for being like bad, right?
um, that's
Like, do you think
wait.
he
Say
should
that
have said
again.
this
Say that again.
differently? Say he genuinely believes what he's saying, is it
Uh
still
huh.
gonna meet your conditions for being unacceptable behavior or beneath him or
Oh,
whatever?
in some cases, yes. The main thing is to give an example, when he says when he talks about like deranged anti-Israel shit. I mean, like maybe like obviously like if he thinks something is deranged, like I'm not gonna like dispute that. Like that's not false, right? But I just want to I guess I'm more so concerned with like getting him like on the record. Well, sorry. First, like if seeing if it does in fact like apply to me, and then if it does apply to me, like what exactly is like the deranged anti-Israel shit that I'm saying.
To be clear,
So
that in the context that I said that part actually did not apply to you. That part applied to Mouthy, and I told him that.
Okay, but even before doing that though, because just because we're about to start talking about whether these things are actually true or not, but we can probably
right.
resolve the whole part of the conversation that's about whether there needs to be any like personal disdain here, right? Like, if he's just saying things that he genuinely believes and they are negative and they're about you, but he's not trying to be an ass and he actually says he likes you, he's just not going to compromise on saying what he believes, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you can just have a mixed view on someone. Like, you don't like the
Yeah.
fact that they're an ideologue, which he takes, or maybe he doesn't even take. We'll clear that
Uh
up.
huh.
But you don't like this thing about them. You like these other things about them,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
Like,
not gonna say that like he's still wrong if it just comes down to like something like that. Yeah. No.
well,
Uh,
not wrong, but like an
Wrong in the sense
ass
that
or
you said
like
something
doing some,
false.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, but wrong. Well, I'm not talking about the false part right now. I'm talking about
Oh,
the
okay.
just the personal level of like thinking stuff is like beneath him that he's been saying or whatever. Like, can we just resolve the like personal disdain element right now? Because it really doesn't sound like he's like trying to be an ass. And I don't think when you did the one thing that did actually piss him off, which was talking over him, I don't think you were trying to be an ass. You were like frustrated, right? um it just sounds like you guys like annoyed each other, and well, it sounds like you got annoyed, and it sounds like he said things that are harsh but that he takes to be true. That just doesn't seem like a reason to like dislike each other overall, or to have any kind of like beef, really. Like, we can talk about the actual facts, but can we just like agree that there's not really any need for any like personal tension here, now that we've like kind of cleared
Yeah.
that up? Or do you still feel there is, either of you?
No, I mean like tentatively I'll say yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we'll see if it descends into
The
total
only,
Yeah,
chaos,
because that's what I'm
obviously,
wondering,
but
but we'll see. Yeah,
yeah.
but
yeah, I mean, the only thing is like, yeah, if and the only thing is just like like if there's like an agreement that is, I know you're banned, but if you have any desire to come back into my server, the only thing I would say is that I'd appreciate like just an agreement to respect the rules and whatnot of my server. That's all. Um, that yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's fine.
other than that, like, there's no there's nothing I take personally.
Well, and he just said it's
Sure.
fine, so why don't I assume
Yeah,
that's him
then
agreeing?
no,
So why don't you just
then
unban him?
That's me agreeing.
no,
Yeah.
no, I'll unban him right now if that's the case. Um,
Okay, all right. Let's talk. Well, sorry, were you gonna say something else, or do you want to talk about whether these things he said are actually like true, or even if we can't resolve whether they're true, whether at least he's like in his own point of view,
Yeah.
epistemically justified in thinking them.
Yeah. That's fine.
what's your tag, by
Okay.
the way? Hold on, I have to unban him.
Anti_realism.
Wait, this is important. It's not funny.
For a second, I
Oh
thought
wait,
you
there
were
might
gonna
be two
say
underscores. Hold on. No, there's just one.
second, I
Sorry.
thought he was gonna say anti-Israel.
No.
Yeah, okay, let's um that's supposed to be a joke for both of you. That's not me ripping on you, Fish.
No, I know.
Okay. All right. Well, will you let us know when you're able to focus again there, Avi.
No, I'm done. I'm done. I'm focused.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's then clear up the actual issue. So is there like just specific comments that you
Yeah.
want to figure out here? And Avi,
Mhm.
do you have specific things that you're trying to like
I
deal with, or you just
what
are
I did
reacting
was
here?
Yeah, what I did was I just took the screenshots of the things I said about Fish and Ethan, and I posted them in order.
Wait. Sorry, you're missing my question. I'm not asking what you did do. I'm just asking right now, like, so the one goal is to figure out if the things that he's concerned with here are like true, or at least if you're epistemically justified in saying them. I'm just asking if you have any particular goal in this conversation other than just like dealing with that. Like, do you have
Oh,
anything
no,
of your own that you're trying to
I'd
resolve?
like I mean, I guess I'd like to. I mean, my goal is I'd like to be clear to him. I certainly don't want him to think I said something about him that I didn't say, or mean to say something about him I didn't say, which is why I tried to
Okay.
clarify and why I posted those screenshots. So my
Sure.
goal
So you
is,
don't
yeah,
have
clarity.
like separate points to make. We are just trying to so we're just trying to resolve these things that Fish is like concerned with then. Sorry to cut you off, but it's just like that sounds like what we're trying to do here. So let's just do that. So yeah, Fish, where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's just start with this one. I can read it aloud if you want. Otherwise, yeah, again, I guess I'll just read it. So, Avi says He says you spend hours pulling teeth to get concession about some basic shit any rational agent who hasn't already squirted the ideology juice up their rectum through a lube shooter would give in 5 minutes, only to find them onto the next deranged anti-Israel shit the next day. Then Mouthy comes in, he says, "Dude, what? Is this about our convo?" And then Avi says, "That part was more so Fish than you." So,
Wait,
So
that's not the end of my clarification.
right, you are more so the whack-a-mole phenomena and ideological magnet effects. I'll give you credit for being able to concede points in a shorter amount of time. And then you say, "I do stand by my sentiments about my suspicion of the downstream effect." Okay, that's a different point, but I guess I'll finish reading it. "I do stand by my sentiments about my suspicions of the downstream effects of your actions being more morally evil than those openly celebrating rape and such." Though,
Mhm.
right? So, maybe I'm crazy when you say you spend hours pulling teeth, blah 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 blah, only to find them on to the next deranged anti-Israel shit the next day. I take those two like statements to be referring to the same person or the same set of people.
I clarified that they weren't. So
So just
yeah,
just so
to
we're
be
clear, then you don't think I said any deranged anti-Israel shit the day after we had our last convo.
Um, I don't know if it was if you mean by said, then so if you mean by said in terms of like you said to me, I do think that you've said some deranged anti-Israel shit
In
in our
in be-
conversation.
in between our third conversation and when you posted that,
I don't know if our last I don't. I
or go ahead.
remember that we had multiple conversations. Here's what I remember. I remember we had multiple
Uh-huh.
conversations. There was, and I do take there to be deranged anti-Israel shit that was said in both of those conversations.
Right.
I don't know if the conversations were separated by a literal like 24-hour period, as in the day,
Uh-huh.
like the next
No, I
day.
know
That
that. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not. Well,
I
because what I'm wondering when you say like to find them on to like that sort of like to me
yeah.
implies like you came across one of my posts or
No, no,
something.
no, no, no. That's not what was said. In fact, I had to pull this up to be like, did I even say that? But no, I didn't say that. So to be clear, I don't take it that I see something you post, which was deranged anti-Israel shit. I have a conversation with you, and then I see you post another deranged anti-Israel shit. That's not what was said there.
Okay.
that's how
Um.
I read it. What did you mean there?
Yeah. Like I don't.
Wait,
I'm
that's how you read. Wait, that's how you read what?
What the everything I just heard, the way that I would interpret that is that you're talking about him doing like what Mike the Vegan does, where you talk him off of something about
Well, the
heart
distinction.
disease, and then he's
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
on it the next day
Yeah,
in
yeah,
some
no, that's
form.
true. Yeah, that's well, it may not be heart disease. It might be something other related, but plant-based, not ideology. But no, the distinction here is whether I think the distinction is whether I'm claiming it's in the form of a post on Twitter or something versus if it's said verbally. So I do take that
You
that's
just mean in some form.
yeah, in some form, yes. I'm not saying it's in the form of a post with Fish.
what
Okay.
I guess but we didn't really have any like conversations between. So like I don't did you think like I was saying like deranged anti-Israel shit during our like third conversation and you just didn't like press me
Yeah.
on it, or?
Well,
Oh,
I think I pressed you on it. It seemed very deranged anti-Israel shit. It's like the third conversation, the thing that really stood out to me, was that, it turned out we found out this wasn't even a law. But if there was a law to like that Israel wouldn't like forcibly draft Palestinians that were Israeli citizens to fight a war that they clear against their own brothers that they don't want to
uh-huh,
fight, for benefits that they clearly don't want, and other
uh-huh.
things like that would be a form of oppression. Now
Okay.
that's the part that I took to be a deranged anti-Israel shit.
Okay, so let me just write that down so I got this. Okay, so we're talking about the military rule or whatever. Right. Is there anything else that I said that you would consider to be deranged anti-Israel shit, or is that it?
In that specific conversation or the previous ones?
Whatever you're taught. So when you say whatever you're referring to when you post, they're on to the next deranged anti-Israel shit the next day.
Oh yeah, that was the one that stands out to me. That stood out to me. If I
Okay,
think of more, I'll let you know. But what really stood out to me was like,
gotcha.
yeah, was that in
I'm
our and
Okay.
also gonna say I doubt that he formed that belief between like whatever it was you said, like the second and third conversation, or the third and some post after. Like it's probably just, just a general thing he started observing throughout your interaction. I mean, tell me
yeah,
if I'm wrong
no,
there.
I mean that's how I generally form my views about people. Um,
Yeah, like I mean, he's just realizing whether it's true or not as he talks to you, that he's getting the feeling that he's pushing you off of things, but you're gravitating back to other things that are like right in the same cluster, instead of like generalizing the kind of insight that there's something wrong with the angle that you're taking. That I think that's like what he's saying.
yeah,
Um.
well, yeah, and to be clear, like I gave the specific example for
Well,
the
if
stuff.
if that's the example, that's sort of like confusing to me then, because that was in the context of a conversation about whether or not Israel is an apartheid state, which I don't think I made a claim on in any of our
No,
conversations.
no, it was you actually specifically said this isn't. You said this isn't about a question about apartheid. You said, would I find it oppressive?
Right.
So it was a change in topic. You said like, okay, this is
Yeah,
not this is
but
question.
the s- so that's correct, but the point is like this isn't something that you previously pushed me off of, and I'm
Oh,
like
to be
going back
clear.
to.
Oh, I see the confusion. No, when I say so
Yeah,
the words were onto the next deranged anti-Israel shit. I didn't say onto the same
Okay.
deranged anti-Israel shit.
he's talking, this is what I meant when I said cluster, or Mike the vegan with the plant-based ideology, or him saying anti-Israel ideology. Yeah, I mean he's definitely not talking about returning to the same point. He's talking about like a cluster of views that are being derived from the same kind of sentiment as a starting point, and you can push someone off of a specific view, but then they just find their way to the next thing in the cluster, without, instead of like generalizing that there's something wrong about the sentiment that's causing them to take views in that cluster in the first place. That's what you're saying, right, Avi?
Yeah, in fact, that's why I said the next deranged anti-Israel shit the next day instead of saying the exact same deranged anti-Israel shit the next day.
Under the interpretation where it is the same, you can see why he would find that annoying,
Oh,
obviously, though, I'm
of course,
sure,
because
and
if
false.
no,
Yeah.
I know, and if I said the same deranged anti-Israel shit the next day, yeah, no, I would, there would be grievances against me that I would take like, oh, I should have clarified that. Like, it's not the same exact thing. It's like some similar cluster of like, partisan anti-Israel stuff.
Okay. I mean, as long as we're clear that the only thing you're talking about there is the military rule in
My next, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's the only one in the subsequent conversation that's off the top of my mind. I mean, if you want to know my views on like the different instances in which I've observed like cases of you uh saying things that I would consider to be deranged anti-Israel shit, we can go through those. I want to be clear, I don't think that I don't take that to be the only deranged anti-Israel shit you've said.
Okay, let's go through them then. That would be great. As long as we're clear that that part you were only talking about the, as far as you can remember, you're only talking about.
I remember off the top of my head, yes.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Also,
Okay.
just before going into whatever they are, also I'm thinking about the goal of the conversation here. Is that actually what you are wanting to resolve? Or are we going down a rabbit hole right now? Because it sounds like now you're talking about just going over all the things that he thinks are deranged anti-Israel about your view.
Well, he said a lot of stuff, but that's fine. I'm happy to because I'll stand. I could say something else, but I don't.
What else?
Well, I'm just wondering if that's in the initial cluster of things you want to talk about. Because you said there's a few things you wanted to clear up, and it sounds like we cleared up what he meant by like coming back to the next deranged anti-Israel thing. And I'm wondering now if the things that were in that original cluster of stuff that you had a problem with that you want to talk about are going into all these instances of things that he thought were deranged anti-Israel. Is that in that cluster, or are we just going down a rabbit hole right now? If there was other things in that initial cluster, let's just like deal with those.
So no, they would be part. So well, I guess let me just think about what direction I want to take this in. Because I'm curious to like hear what specific claims or what specific takes I have that he considers to be like deranged, but I don't know if that's the best way to proceed here. Or had,
yeah.
Sure. I'm not sure if that's the best way to proceed though. So let me just think about how
we can do that, but yeah, just think about if there was was that what you wanted to do initially? Because you said there was some initial things that were like really frustrating that you came here to resolve. So it's like that's the thing that we should do. And I'm sure you can resolve all the little details of like every anti-Israel thing later. Unless that actually is what you were talking about when you said
that was one of the things I was talking about. I don't know, because depending on how into the weeds we get here, it might make more sense to clear up some other shit. But
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let me just see what I
Yeah, you can think for a minute. Just mute for a minute if you need to. You don't have to
Yeah,
answer right away.
I just I screenshotted a bunch of shit. So I guess let's let's go ahead and go through the things that I've said that you consider to be like deranged. Sure.
And is there more to cover after that, or is that kind of like just what we're aiming to?
Well, the other thing, I guess there's a couple little things, but then the other main thing would just be this claim that Ethan and I are arguably profoundly more evil than like a Hamas or I don't remember what the exact words were. But
first.
Okay, all right, let's do that first.
Let's do that one first. Yeah.
At least read the whole thing.
Yep. So I can actually paste them if you want.
It's already pasted. I pasted it.
Well, there was more to that conversation, but if that's
I mean, I can. I take it that people like Mouthy Fish, etc., are arguably profoundly more evil than the people like this, or parentheses, or at least in terms of what they are doing. So it's not to say that they're like evil necessarily.
That our character is bad. Yeah. No, I didn't take it that way. Yeah.
And I think, so that I do, that I do believe.
Okay. Do you have an argument for us, like leading to like, or our views leading to like worse consequences?
Oh, no. I think I clarified that was a suspicion. That's why I said arguably.
Yeah. Do you not see like why I might have a massive problem with that?
I mean, I can see why you might find it insulting. But or might take it the wrong way. I take it like I'm being harsh, but I do believe, like, I do have the suspicion. Like,
all right. That's kind of wild to me. I gotta like,
if you want me to like give you my suspicion, I could do that. To be clear, I'm not like taking a very strong view on it.
I know.
Yeah.
But imagine if I said something like, I take it that it's arguable that in terms of what Avi's doing, his view is like he's profoundly more evil than like someone who wants to like genocide Palestinians or something.
Yeah, I would say to imagine you saying that. What point are you trying to get at here? Are
doesn't that seem like kind of like
it's insulting? Or
yeah, doesn't that seem like
or what?
Yeah, it just seems like I don't know. I seems kind of insane to like speculate about that. Like,
When you just to
wouldn't you
be
be?
clear,
Oh
when
no, no,
you
yeah.
yeah, when you say
Sorry.
insane, do you mean it's like really upsetting, or you mean insane like it's like an epistemic thing? Like like what's he doing epistemically there? That seems like irrational.
I mean both, really.
Okay, the latter I take an issue with. I think I don't take a strong view on it, but I have a slight suspicion. So I don't know
Before
why.
that, before that, the first you guys agree on though. You both
Oh,
agree that it's insulting, but you also both agree that his aim is not to insult. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if part of his aim was actually to get you to think about if that's true or not, maybe to motivate a character change. But
yes.
Okay.
you both agree that it's insulting, and you both agree that there wasn't an intention to like be a dick about it, right?
I
I
don't see any
certainly.
reason to think there was an intention. No.
Okay, so and Avi agrees that it's very likely to be interpreted in an insulting way, right?
Of course.
Now, I don't actually think that's a good way to interpret Avi, for the record. I think Avi is like a very like neuroatypical person who just
Yeah.
says things. So it's like that will lead you to be
Um.
offended by him when you don't need to be, and when he might be like, "Whoa, why are you so offended?" But okay, so the first part there's not disagreement about. There's disagreement about if it's epistemically justified. So
Yeah,
maybe
and
let's like clear that up.
to be clear about what this is, it's a slight leaning of credence in favor of that direction. It's not like this is my position. I'm going to, I have like proof or something like that. To be just being clear about what this refers to when we're talking about whether it's epistemically justified.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So, um, I mean, one thing the reason, so basically in terms of justification, like the directions I start with are basically principle of indifference. So I start off 50-50 unless I have some sort of background knowledge or reason to shift my credence in either direction. There are certain things that will shift my credence into directions, but only very slightly. These are things like anecdotes. These are things like mechanistic speculations. And so those are the sorts of things that will shift my credence very slightly. And they typically will probably shift my credence very slightly to the degree that the various investigations and the evidence hierarchy um, show that to the degree that they point out to things like randomized controlled trials, which is really not a lot. So,
And one thing to maybe clear up, just because I suspect some people, I don't think Fish, but maybe some people might be confused. You can have a slight credence that there's a large gap between two things, right? The credence
yeah,
size doesn't have to like correspond to the gap size or something.
yeah,
Like you
exactly.
could have a slight credence that someone's very evil, right? If
Effect size,
there's
like the effect
if
size
you know,
doesn't. Yeah, the
yeah, like you might have, sorry,
certainty and effect size are two different things. Yes.
yeah, like you might have two people and you know one of them is like a mass murder and the other isn't, and you have a very slight credence that it's like person A. It's like you have a slight leaning towards that person being really bad. So that's just a thing to clear up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess yeah. Then we just have like drastically different values then, if that's the case.
Well, we should
Well,
try
I
to
don't
resolve it.
know.
Let's try
It's
to. Yeah,
epistemic, but
sorry.
yeah, I mean, well, so what I
I don't mean epistemic values to be clear. Sorry
what
if
you
that.
mean moral values or?
Yeah, like I know we're not like
But
friends or anything, but
I thought this was about my epistemology. Hold on,
well,
I'm
it
confused.
was no. It was both.
But we
Yeah,
agreed on this. Wait, didn't
yeah
we
we
agree on something?
I think
yeah
there's
no we did.
confusion. I think he's not. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fish. You're not seeing how he's getting to that conclusion about you, right? That doesn't.
Like
We don't know if that's
epistemically.
down to. Yeah, we don't know if that's down
Um,
to a difference in epistemology. It's
Oh,
like
I see
you
the
just
difference.
don't
I see.
currently
Okay,
see how
well,
he's getting there, right?
well, that's
Like, why
part
does
of
he
it.
believe that about you?
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay.
I suppose so. No, that's a good way because
no,
no,
but
that's
wait, but
fine.
that's true, Isaac. Wait, but
Wait, let
that's
him. uh,
okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's just hear him clarify what it is, so we can address it. We can
Um,
address it.
yeah, because I know we're not like friends or anything, but like some of the people I
We're
talk to and
pleasant
like
acquaintances
yeah,
until
but like
now, I guess, or whatever.
yeah, and like people I consider to be like pleasant acquaintances or friends, if they had the kind of takes about any conflict, because I consider like a lot of my takes to be like very milquetoast, I guess. I don't know. I would not speculate, especially in such a big server. I just would not publicly speculate about them being more evil than like, like genocidal like terrorists. I don't know.
Okay, but I think you're going back to the whether it's insulting, whether it's upsetting thing, and
yeah.
I think
Oh no, I'm
in
not
this
saying there's a
case, like,
disagreement. I
well,
guess I'm just
it
kind of.
sounds like there might be a disagreement. It sounds like part of it is you don't know how he's getting to that conclusion, right? If he explains his reasoning, you might understand it, or you might feel more sympathetic towards it. But
Well,
yeah, I think in terms of being offended by it, I think that it's just like he's just gonna say what he believes. He's not trying to be an ass, and I just don't think it's worth. I don't know, that my point of view is just it's not worth taking it personally like that, because it's not really intended like that. But
I get.
if it just
Yeah.
really fucking pisses you off and it doesn't matter how he intends it, then maybe you guys just aren't compatible people or something. But
Well,
Yeah.
for me, I usually try to understand like where a person's coming from and if their intentions are malicious towards me or not. And if they aren't, I'm sympathetic to a pretty wide range of behavior from them.
the also
That's
thing
me.
I
I
don't
don't know if you
understand about me
agree.
is like I'm very autistic and I just say what I don't really have a filter. So like I could really like I could totally like someone and say all these things. I
Okay.
mean, but look, I to put this in perspective, like I've chatted with Nazis, like I've chatted with.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, was to set up a debate, but like we've had like a calm conversation. Um,
Yeah.
I've there's people that's not really, but also there's people that I really like that I say like very harsh things about. I like Mouthy, by the way. I he's I consider that we have great conversations, we get along. Um, but in many ways I've said harsher things about him than the things I've said to you. About
Andrew, Crucible Andrew.
Andrew, yep, Andrew's another one. I get along with Andrew. I think the views he has, like he's, views he
Oh, they're
has,
insane. He's totally got horribly evil views.
and
But I like him personally.
also, I like certain carnists, even though they're yes.
Venus.
So I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think it's just like a different. I don't know. I guess we just treat like close acquaintances or like friendly acquaintances differently. I guess I don't know, because it's just
yeah,
not something I would do unless they. Because like I mean, for example, like I don't. I'm not convinced of like a lot of what you say about Israel. I would never like in a million years say like the equivalent about you. But I guess yeah, it's just different.
if you did say, as long as you're not saying anything that you wouldn't say to my face, like
Okay.
if it's something like that, like if you were to say if something like, and you were to be clear that it's not like my character, it's like some
Yeah.
downstream action of what I might be doing that you speculate might have this effect. Um, that's already what I suspect of you that you have, by the way. That's not even like that would be milk toast to me. I suspect Mouthy and you and I could be wrong, but that's already the view I suspect you guys have of me. That like the things I'm doing and the things I'm saying may be even worse than the radical Israelis in the sense
I
that I'm
don't see any reason to think that at all.
okay, well
Well,
but if
whether
you were to think that if you
But
were to
okay, but I take your point. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like if you were to say something like, "Oh, well, I suspect Avi at least may have downstream effects from what he's doing that may be worse than what like the radical Israelis who are like supporting settlements,
Yeah.
encroaching on Palestinian territories are doing." And why is that? Because at least they're open about the things they support. At least they're open about the settlements. At least they're open about taking away other people's land. But Avi, he'll actually disagree with it. He'll seem like a more reasonable person. But then he'll start going into all this like Israel apologia and stuff, and that provides a cover for him. Like if someone were to say that to me, I'm like, okay, I can actually understand why you say that. I don't agree with it, but like, I could certainly understand why you have that suspicion.
All right.
I'll just say two things also. Two things that are super important are like the communication. I mean, obviously, and also I think understanding people on their own terms. Now, you might just have different norms. You might hear me say what I'm about to say and just be like, okay, I'm just not wired like that. I can't do that, and so be it. But my personal thing is like twofold. It's like, okay, on one level communicate. If you are in the same space with someone and you guys are clashing for whatever reason, is there just a way to articulate what bothers you and maybe they'll change? It's possible if you just say, I really don't like when you say things like that about me, that he might change. Or he might not. I don't actually know. Who knows? Well, we could see. But then the other thing is just say that it's a case where they're not. It's like part of their character, or they don't want to change it for whatever reason, or you're not inclined to ask them to for whatever reason. For me, the thing I care about is their intention, where they're coming from. Like if someone has a kind of a behavior that's really like alien to me or whatever, it's hard for me I would never act like that. If I were to act like that, it would be coming from a bad place. Like, what's going to be of interest to me there is understanding where they're coming from. And if they're not coming from a bad place, their intentions are fine, their attitude towards me is fine, they just have a different mode of like expressing themselves or something like that. That's unless their mode of expressing themselves is like shrieking or something, like
Yeah.
something that's like just I can't put up with.
Right.
I'm probably going to be pretty tolerant of that. Again, you might be wired differently. Maybe you aren't though, because you're saying yeah. So I guess I'd just say those two things. You just ask someone to not say things about you in a certain way if it bugs you, and if you don't want to do that, it's worth considering where they're coming from. And if they're not actually coming from somewhere that's shitty, I personally find it like pretty much impossible to be upset with them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I do want to like clarify something Mary said though. It's not even just the fact that like he because like I obviously like I mean we think we have like different like ethical views. Like of course it's just going to be the case that like there are some positions I take that he considers evil. It just feels like such a stretch to me to say to look at my takes on Israel Palestine and come to that conclusion. But sorry, that's a bit of a digression.
Well, it depends. When you say stretch, do you mean epistemically or do you mean behaviorally? Like, are you saying you would never act like that if you had these beliefs about him? Or are you saying
it's sort of a combination of both. It's the fact that like you make that statement when the epistemic evidence you have is like very like or like when the epistemic aspect is like very weak, right?
But the statement is weak, to be clear. Which I
Yeah,
clarified. Yeah.
I know, but
it's a
okay.
weak statement that there's likely to be a strong evil.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
the certainty the certainty that the statement is being posed on. Yeah, I can see. Like, don't take like the degree of evilness to like be the degree of my confidence.
No, I know that. I know, but it's just I don't know. To me, it's just I think we just have very different like values here because I just
Wait,
I don't know,
epistemic
it's just
values or like
no. Sorry, no, moral values. No.
okay, so
sorry.
are we off the epistemic thing then, or are we still back on it? Because I'm not.
No, I think that we both agree that epistemically there's like limited evidence for it, right? Like
Okay,
there's
weak.
yeah.
So there's nothing crazy, epistemically crazy about having a very weak position with very weak evidence.
Yeah, no, I no.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so when you say stretch, you mean behaviorally. You would never act like that, and if you were to act like that, it would be coming from a place of not liking the person or just thinking they're a piece of shit. So when you see it coming from him, you naturally assume that's like what he's doing, right? It's like, why are you being like that? That's such a thing to say.
Yeah, I would have that suspicion, but I suppose I don't have that suspicion anymore. It's just it's more so I don't know. I still have a problem with it. But it's just I don't think we're gonna.
Well, you could ask him not to do. I actually have no clue if he'll say yes to that or not.
I don't.
It's
not the end of the world, I guess.
No, if it bothers you, I can try to limit what I say about you. I mean, that's fine. I mean, if you want, because I don't want to like do something that, part of my values will involve me not wanting to do something you don't want me to do.
Sure.
So like that will be a motivating force for me to be like have a higher threshold of saying.
Or you could tell him privately.
Or I can tell you privately. I'm not gonna give a categorical commitment to that. So like,
that's fine.
if I were to see you post on Twitter or something the next day, like, glass Israel or something.
Of course. Of course.
I'm not gonna say, well, I committed to talking to him privately.
No, of course.
But I can certainly increase my threshold for saying things about you publicly.
Okay.
I mean, you
That's
can say it
all right.
privately too if you still want to like hear in case he thinks you might be evil, and you're like, I'd like to like know what I might be evil about, even though it's to tell you in private or something.
And what was this thing about Mary that you wanted to say about to the you
Oh,
wanted?
no, it was. Let me just scroll up. It was just she said, if it makes you feel better, Avi thinks I'm evil as well. It's not like, yeah,
Significantly more evil.
yeah.
Well, to be clear, not that's even that's not accurate. I think the things I don't think I don't think Mary is evil. That's not an accurate description of my statement. Like I think
Well,
that
you know what I
Mary
mean.
believes, yeah, things that Mary
Right.
believes, the act, yeah, like I think that actually is even more evil. Yes, I mean she wants to. My understanding is she wants to take the entire planet, eliminate all, the eventual elimination of all humans, and have predators eating herbivores for
Yeah.
perpetuity. So
You are really evil. Well, sorry, not you, Mary, but your views are totally
take,
demented.
take her
But
view,
we all
like
love you. It's fine.
yeah, probably the most some of the potentially the member who has the most evil views in this whole server. But I like, but I to be clear, I still like her. I like Mary,
Yeah, I like Mary too.
even though I consider her to be probably the most deranged lunatic
Yeah,
in the room.
I do too, to be honest. I have
Well,
the
there's a
same.
point of agreement.
Yeah.
At least there's not a
Um,
barrier between fucking Israel, Palestine, and deep ecologists.
yeah. Oh, is she a deep ecologist?
Well,
Oh.
actually, I
She's a
asked
deep
that
ecologist.
question on the poll.
Well,
I asked if the attacks on the music festival or whatever would increase or decrease biodiversity.
Oh, that's why you tweeted that. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering. Okay. All right. Well, I guess there's not like a disagreement there. Um, let me just see what else there was.
well, wait,
Um,
but do you understand? It might be worth clarifying. Do you
oh,
understand why he believes that though? Why he has
oh,
that
I
weak
guess
footing?
no, we can go down that route, I suppose. No, I don't. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I take it. Why? But I believe you mean the suspicion, right? The
right,
thing.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'm not saying you're actually claiming this is
yeah. Because
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I see the things that people, so when I see the things that you're saying, um, I take what the issue that I take is, or the suspicion that I have, is that people who are not as intelligent or are not as familiar with the background situation of the conflict or don't have or both or either are not going to be able to press you on that. And a lot of people are going to see the things that you're saying because you're smarter than most other people, and they're not going to have a rebuttal if it's incorrect. And because of that, and because there's this, I take it that there's this bias that's going on. Um, and I can explain why I think that as well. What I take that what my suspicion is that's going to provide a veneer, like a false veneer of like more legitimacy to the more radical components of um
Hmm.
of the conflict
And
in what
Yeah,
yeah
kind of like the. Okay, I see what you're saying. It's kind of like the the anti-vax dipshits who are like, I'm just asking questions about this or that or whatever. Yeah.
and
and
even more than that, I think there's actually an element of a compliment here if you think about it, because he
No, I
wouldn't say
agree.
this about someone who can't articulate themselves well, right? Like you'd
Right.
be like, well, that person just makes the view look bad.
Does it potentially like bother you that the same might be true about like your position though? Does that I don't know.
well if it is well to the degree that that's true, it would bother me.
Okay.
Of course, I don't want to like. This is why I made a point to recently. As soon as like when I saw the one of the radical Israelis on my timeline, I was like, holy shit! Like I actually see them. Like they're real. Like and I made a point to engage
Okay.
with. I
So
don't know if you
okay,
saw that or
no,
not.
I did. Is there anything like you, because that kind of segues nicely into like the next thing that I wanted to talk about, but if you have anything else to say, I'll obviously let you say it before we move on.
Well, I mean, only that only that I wanted to well, only that my answer is obviously yes, and I've to whatever degree appropriate, I think I've been trying to make clear what my views are and what they aren't, and I've been not only making clear what my views are and what they aren't, but I've been engaging in the side I might be providing cover to in such a way as to not provide cover to them but attack them.
Okay. All right. That's fine then. I think I think that's resolved then. Unless you have anything else to say.
Or at least not on that subject. And it's
Okay.
not a question of whether it would bother me if I was doing something similar.
Okay. I mean, I guess we'll yeah, I guess there's like just one more thing before, and then you can just tell me what you think the crazy takes I have, and then I'll probably either. Well, anyways, we'll get
Or had.
or had, yeah. So I guess it's kind of like a little bit baffling that you have this like sort of view about me, because it
Can I
seems like
one thing up? Can I just throw
Yeah.
one thing up? And this is
Yeah.
why I posted that screenshot of the conversation. The going on to the next anti deranged Israel stuff. That part wasn't even the biggest issue I had, and I cleared that up with Mouthy too. Like that
Right.
part wasn't really even about you. Now I do take it to be that you do have had like it's true to some degree, but I think that thing was a lot more true for Mouthy, the whack-a-mole aspect. So there's a number of components. So one component was the whack-a-mole aspect. That's the whole like, okay, this deranged shit. Now I'm going to go on to the next deranged shit. Now I'm going to the next deranged shit. That part was mostly attributed to Mouthy. The issue that I mostly attributed to you was that it took a lot of time, more time than I would expect. If you weren't plagued by like what I consider to be plagued by some sort of like anti-Israel partisanship, to concede certain things that I know if it were the other way around, or I have a very strong suspicion that if it were the other way around, you would concede it within like 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute, even it may, or maybe if it wouldn't have even been brought to a debate, it would have been so fast.
Do you want to go down that route first before we do the other thing?
Like, for example, like what struck me is that when I said that there was like a music festival, and I said like, oh, like a peace themed music festival. Like you were very quick to correct that. Now I don't know if it was a correction or not. I'm agnostic at this point. But you were very quick to challenge that little like minutia detail. Like, oh, actually I heard that may not have been true. It may not have been a peace themed music festival. It may have just been a music festival.
Right.
Even though we both agree that like whether it was a peace themed music festival where that massacre took place matters. Well, I mean, in the long scheme of things, I think we could agree that doesn't really matter a whole lot. Whether they, ran down civilians like feral hogs in just a general music festival versus
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't matter at all. I'd say no.
Yeah.
Or very. If it does, it's like it's minuscule. Yeah.
But which is fine. Like I don't have a problem with you making that point. I mean, that's because I actually, in fact, I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you challenged it because I actually take the view that even if things matter very little, truth is valuable for its own sake, and we should be accurate with the things we're saying, even if the degree it matters is very little. But what I noticed is that you were very quick to do that. But then when we spoke about the thing that Netanyahu said, about how that was taken out of context and how on a charitable reading with the actual translation of what was said on the actual speech in context, what was actually said there was not that he's telling the people to leave Gaza,
Right.
but he's telling them to go to a different location within Gaza away from the Hamas locations. So now we took so long on that compared to how quick it was for the minutia to be noted about the music festival. Even though both of these were,
yeah, go ahead.
even though it seemed like, okay, here's a case where there's something that you consider to be like minutia, but you made the point to correct it. And this other thing where there's like minutia, but I made the point to correct it. Which, by the way, I don't even think it's like to the same degree of minutia. But even if you did, it took so long,
Right.
way longer, to pull the teeth to get to be like, okay, yeah, we probably shouldn't characterize this like that, what he said, because there's a more charitable reading, even if it's still wrong.
Right.
So that was the main. That was like the main issue that I had. Not even like the whack-a-mole thing. It just struck me as like there's this it seemed like there's a strong asymmetry here between how quickly you are to correct minutia when it goes in one direction versus the other direction.
Right. So I guess I'm not sure. Okay, so I guess I'll tackle that point first. So I I think if you would have just like tweeted something like that, I don't think I would have like said anything. I guess I was I guess being a little bit sort of passive aggressive by saying that. Because I was I guess a little bit frustrated that you were yeah, taking issue with the mistranslation, I guess. So I don't think like there's actually like I don't know if there's actually like fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, no,
Disagreement.
I was just yeah, I was just kind of being like an asshole there. I'll own up to that. I probably would have just like let it go had you like just tweeted something like that.
Wait, I'm
Um
a little confused about what's being said.
Sorry. So what you're saying is that but go ahead, you can ask. But
No, I mean,
um
what I'm just saying is I'm just trying to clarify what the main issue that I had with you was,
right,
rather
right.
than nothing.
Yeah, okay,
Uh,
the issue was that I was quick to
there's an
point out
asymmetry.
like right. Yeah, that was just that was me being an asshole. Yeah.
Okay, well then there's an asymmetry with you being an asshole in one
Yeah.
direction versus another. But the point is like you wait, so you were just like taking an hour of my time to have the teeth pulled because you wanted to be an
Well,
asshole.
oh no. Sorry. The comment about it not about it being like unconfirmed that it was like a peace festival. That was me being like an asshole.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But but but
Yeah.
but but even so, like
Uh-huh.
if you if you were presented with if you actually had information confirming that it wasn't a peace festival, let's just say it was like a general music festival, right?
Uh-huh.
And I were to say like, hey, it was a peace festival, like
Right.
would you make the point to correct it if I were
Probably not if it was like similar
okay.
to like the tweet that I made.
No, not in a tweet, like in a, or in any context. Like the point is just that or okay, let me ask you no, rather this. If you actually no, I should ask it this way. If you had the false belief
Right.
that it was a music festival, I mean
Mhm.
a peace themed music festival, and a pro-Palestinian person came to you and said, "Actually, here it's not a music thing. It's not a peace themed music festival."
Yeah.
How long would would you argue with this pro-Palestinian person for an hour about what about this and about like, hey, like it's still defensible in some way to call it a peace music festival because it doesn't really matter
Yeah,
whether
I think in some contexts I would. It just depends on like who I'm talking to. Like if I had tweeted out some condemnation of like a Hamas terrorist attack and then
Mhm.
somebody that yeah came into my mentions and started saying something like that. And part of this is probably like I don't mean this to be like
Mhm.
offensive, but probably this is just because I didn't realize how like for lack of a better word like autistic you were. Um
Mhm.
but yeah, no, that would be like my inclination. Like if some like or like I was condemning like Russia or yeah,
Say it in a tweet. I mean, say it was like just in a conversation about like, just to be clear, about the truth of whether it was a peace themed music festival or not.
if it was a if it was in a context where the conversation sorry if the context was that we were having a conversation about whether or not it was a peace themed music festival.
Like, yeah, okay, you say something and you say it's a peace
Uh-huh.
themed music festival, and I say, hey, listen, like this is inaccurate. It's not a peace music festival. Um,
Yeah,
it's
in that
just
context I would be more open to correction, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's the asymmetry I'm talking about. It's like you seemed a lot. You would seem. I think you would seem a lot more open to correction than if you post what you posted, and then I just say that was a mistranslation. By the way, that wasn't like that. That took a long time.
Well, wait a minute. What do you think the asymmetry here is? Because that seems like my view is like pretty consistent there. Or, like
The
it seems like it's pretty
asymmetry is
symmetrical there.
No, the asymmetry is how long and how much effort it would take for there to be a correction, or for
But
there to.
I would probably take a similar amount of time if this was someone who posted something like this underneath a post of mine condemning like a Hamas terrorist attack.
Wait, so you're saying that if you said,
It depends on who it is, to be clear.
so
But
if it was
yeah,
me, so
knowing what I know now or what I thought then, now probably I'd probably just accept the correction.
okay, so if it was me then, so let's say you said like, oh my gosh, 40 babies beheaded.
Yeah.
And then I said like, actually, that's not really confirmed. Like
Uh-huh.
in fact, what was said is that maybe there were a few babies at best that were beheaded. We don't even know that. Like, would it turn into like a multi-hour argument about like how important it is?
Well, I do think I would have given like the same response, although I'm not sure I like agree with your characterization of like our argument being like an hour long specifically about that topic, because we did discuss a couple other things.
Pretty sure we took an hour at least about that part. I could be wrong, but it was, if not an hour, it was close to it.
I mean, you can. Do you have the logs? Because
No,
I genuinely don't remember it
no,
being that like.
I'm just going off my memory. I could be wrong. I could be
Uh-huh.
wrong, but we certainly took quite a bit of time. Okay,
Yeah,
here's the ages. Here's the thing.
because
It
there was a
took
bunch of other stuff that came up in that conversation.
here's what asymmetry I do know. Like, okay, so I do have the suspicion about there would be an asymmetry in time it would take for you, but I could be wrong. What I do know is that
Uh-huh.
when you corrected me on minutia like that, I conceded that I don't know within a second. Like
Yeah.
when you talked about the Peace Theme Music Festival, it did not turn into like me pushing back on you for like anything close to an hour or even half an hour or 20
Right.
minutes. Like it took me half a second, if that,
Yeah,
to
and
be
I
like,
think we just. Go ahead.
yeah, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe it wasn't. Okay, fine. But it wasn't like, and I'll make the point, but it wasn't like a military operation, but fine, I'll take the correction. That's how long it
Y-
took.
Yeah, no, I think like I said in our first, or sorry, second conversation, because we had three, our second conversation, yeah, I think we just kind of have like different like intuitions there. Yeah.
What do you mean
Um, but
intuitions?
sorry, in terms of like what we like ought do in that case, like whether or not we
So
ought to take
to be
like a
clear, if
correction or
you
not there. Yeah.
so in the context of, because this was in a context of just a conversation, like
Right.
um so you think in a context of a conversation, if you make a false claim and it's not that impactful, or it's
Oh,
no.
sorry. Are you just saying that like you would take correction in a conversation, or are you saying that that view would apply to like a public tweet where you were like condemning some like attack?
Oh, I would. Oh, for me. Oh, if it was public, it would be even more important for me to correct it. Like,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
So for example, if I said in a tweet that this was a peace music festival, and then I learned that I actually made a false claim there. I think it would be even more important for me to either take down the tweet or clarify
I
or
see.
something,
Okay.
or
Okay.
apologize,
Cuz
something like that. Yeah.
because I don't think like I would have a problem like with a correction like if we were just like having a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, but wait, not no, but this wasn't just a conversation. I'm talking about like, no, you just asked me if I tweeted. Like I'm talking about if I made a
Yeah, yeah,
public.
yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
initially I said like we have different values, and then you were gonna say like, would you like not? Are you saying you wouldn't take a correction in a private context? Um, I'm saying I think I would, right? I I
Well,
I I think I misinterpreted like
the issue. I mean, the issue that I'm talking about is that like the amount of like, look, Fish. It took so long to
I,
get the tweet deleted, but that was the issue. The issue I had, like again, like look at the screenshots. I was clear about the issue I have. It's the pulling teeth.
right.
Like it felt like pulling teeth to get you to take down something you said that was false.
Okay. I don't know if that, because we did talk about a lot of other stuff. We talked about like the
Yes,
intentions of. Okay.
example,
Yeah.
yes, but no,
Right.
but I was, but
But sure. But
it
the point
took
is, it
way
took longer than it should have
longer,
on your view. Yeah.
took
Okay.
way longer than it should have on my view to get you to take
Sure.
down a false claim that you knew was false at the time. A
Sure.
false claim that you knew was false to correct. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
furthermore, I suspect that if it went in the other direction, I suspect it wouldn't have taken as long. But that's just a speculation.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Well,
What's not a
I
speculation
don't
is
know if
that I wouldn't have taken that long. Like, and if I tweeted, yeah.
Right. I think there were just a lot of like sorry, were you gonna say something, Isaac? I don't wanna if
That's
you
fine,
wanna
go
say
ahead.
something. Yeah,
No,
I
no,
think
you're
there are
good.
just
You're good.
I think there are just like a lot of factors at play here that probably like motivated me to act the way I did. I think that like in most cases I would be like fine with like a minor correction like that. Yeah.
I can certainly understand that there are factors at play that, get the better of us. To be clear, I'm not, when the things I've said about you, I wasn't trying to suggest that, that like no human, unless they're like so terrible in character, could ever have these factors,
No,
get
I
the
know.
better. Yeah.
I'm just trying to explain like why I think like I reacted that way when I probably wouldn't have in a lot of other scenarios. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't
Okay.
sound like he holds it against you or anything. So
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't think he does.
No, I don't.
well, I mean, we could hash out every last detail, but it sounds like broadly you guys are back to being cordial and agreeing on at least a good chunk of stuff. I don't know if it's really worth sitting here hashing out every last detail. I suspect you guys can probably return to hashing out things on your own to the degree that you want to. I think that the goal that I had in this conversation has been achieved. It seems like the major things were resolved. You kind of get where he's coming from, even if you don't agree with everything he's saying. And it sounds like you guys are kind of getting along again. So, we don't have to potentially see someone leave the community who we'd all like to be here. So I vote for that's it for the night, unless you guys really want to say more.
Let me just check. I don't think there's. Oh, I do want to say like one more thing. It does feel a little bit strange to have this to sort of like label me as like an ideologue or a motivated actor. Because like to me it seems like a lot, and to be clear, this is almost certainly like just because, and again, like not to be insulting, but like to be clear, this is almost certainly just because of like the autism. But it's kind of funny because like I feel like if we took a lot of the things that you've said in the course of our interactions and we like applied them in the case of like if I saw like someone else saying things like this in the context of like Russia, Ukraine or something, I would like immediately like assume that that person is just like incredibly like motivated to be like pro Russia regardless of. So I don't know, it's kind of like a little bit frustrating that you aren't granting the same chair, because initially I did have that belief, but during our second conversation I said, yeah, this is probably just because like you're very like rigid about this, or you're very like sorry, rigid might have a negative connotation, but I don't mean it. I don't mean it. I don't mean for it to have a negative connotation. I don't know. I guess it's just kind of disappointing that the same amount of like charity wasn't shown in my case.
I think I show similar. I don't think there's an asymmetry in the amount of charity I show people who are pro-Russia. I think that
Oh,
if someone who's pro-Russia were to point out a correction or something and they were correct, I would take the correction all the same. And I think if someone who was pro-Russia was saying the same sort of things you were saying, I think I would have come to the same degree of my view of them being an ideologue as I would have you. I don't think.
yeah. The asymmetry is not how you would treat like a pro Russia person compared to like how you would treat me. It's just it's. I guess I'm not sure like why you're jumping to the conclusion that I'm like an ideologue in this, when I feel like we could take a lot of things that you've said, and I could just as easily jump to the conclusion that you're like an anti-Palestine Palestine Palestine ideologue. Sorry.
To be clear, I don't think I'm jumping to the conclusion. I didn't just, to have a disagreement with
Uh,
you and then form the belief. I was very clear about that happening over multiple interactions, and
right.
in addition to the teeth pulling aspect of it, that's what's forming my view on it.
Yeah, I think
And I
I think
also
it's
wait, and I
yeah.
also
Just wanted to yeah.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just I don't think it's any of the things you said in isolation. It's like a pattern that he takes. He at least believes he's seeing.
I know, but the thing is, like, I
Wait, I
could.
want to take the second part.
Oh, go ahead.
I,
Go
I
ahead.
fully grant that someone can look at the things I've said over the course, and they may come to some conclusion that I'm an ideologue. Um, and I don't even, of course I think they're wrong. I think
Right.
I can provide plenty of counter evidence to that, um, publicly and privately. Not just me making some like virtue signal statement about how like about
Right.
Gaza, or like me actually actively attacking and engaging with like the crazies on the Israel side. So
Right.
I'm not just virtue signaling to provide cover to myself that I'm a wolf in a sheep's clothing or something like that. That like plenty of people do engage with that, and that's sort of weird
Well,
service facade. But
yeah, but I think I could also point to like a lot of. So, for example, if you look at, I only made a few tweets about this, but the way that I'm talking about like the pro-Palestinian side is like the same way I'm talking. Like it's very like milk toast. It's very like measured. I'm not saying like "fuck you, you fucking Zionist piece of shit" in one breath, and then being like very uber charitable on the other breath. Like,
yeah, no, I understand that, and to be clear, like that's not what's forming my belief about you being an ideologue. I don't think you're the sort of ideologue who would do that. The type of ideologue I closely associate you with is a much more sophisticated and intelligent one. Of course, he wouldn't do that. It would make you look silly. That would make you look stupid. And I don't think this is with intent. I think it's just how it pans out. The type of ideologue I take you to be is just like the more eloquent. Like, are you familiar with like Alexandros Marinos?
I don't
Um,
think so.
yeah. So he's like a very we've gotten into arguments all the time, and I've blocked on and off, but
Oh, I have seen this person. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, like he's a person who's like very well spoken. He doesn't call, he doesn't just like go in and calling people like, this like, oh, anyone who's pro-vaccine is an idiot, or
Mhm.
anyone who's like, he'll like just do all these subtle underminings, like under like, just the just asking question things, and then he'll just point and he'll look at he'll make, the general trend is like you know, not, he's not like the, Brett Weinstein, but yeah, like the jacking off. And I'm not suggesting you're jacking off, just asking questioning off, but it's like it's the type of it's the type of your type of sophistication in conjunction with your biases is a type of ideologue that I would not expect those behaviors from. I would not expect
And
you
Okay.
and
to
you said it's not you said it's not about intention, but just like probably to
Right.
like emphasize that,
No,
like, because
I
he
understand.
said that it would look it would look stupid if you did that. I don't think he's saying something like that. You know you're full of shit, but you also are smart enough to know what looks bad. I mean, I think
like
really it would almost be better to say it would be stupid, and he's not
Right.
stupid.
Yeah. So like the intelligent,
Yeah.
eloquent, more sophisticated person who is yet very biased and partisan, um, no, I wouldn't expect you to say like, glass Israel, or I wouldn't expect you to say any of those things. Um, but there is a sort of thing that I would expect. I would expect the types of behaviors that I've mentioned, the types of interactions that we have. Those are the sorts of things that I expect from an ideologue who's more eloquent, sophisticated, and intelligent.
Sure. Yeah, the only really, I mean, the just kind of going back to like the first thing I said, the frustrating part for me is just it it's not a label I would ascribe to you, even though like I think I could make like a similar case. Um, but I
I mean,
suppose yeah, it's just another like
certainly
difference in
great.
how we would. Yeah.
I mean, I grant someone could make that case. I'm happy
Uh-huh.
to
But But when you say you wouldn't, you're not talking about he's just saying it's not in his character to do
Oh,
that.
it's not in his
And
character.
you both understand. We've been over this. Like you both
Right.
understand it is in Avi's character. He doesn't mean anything bad by it, and he's
Yeah.
happy to try to stray away from talking like that about you because you've made it clear that his default behavior is something that upsets you a bit. So he's going to be a bit more tactful / private messagey with you about things to the degree that that's like reasonable.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you go say insanely crazy shit insanely publicly,
Right.
then whatever. Yeah.
And just to be clear, to whatever degree that someone does have a good argument or a good case, or even a good suspicion, I'm happy to hear them out, and I'm happy to, if I agree with them, to try and reflect and adjust my epistemic thought process if it is an epistemic issue that I have. Because here's the thing, like when someone says like, if someone's trying to form a suspicion that I'm an ideologue, I want it to be in the sort of epistemic way that basically
Right.
there's evidence that there is a problem with my belief forming process. I don't mean an ideologue in the sense that like on the net overall I support Israel, or I
Of
think
course.
Israel
Yeah.
is
No,
because
when you say ideologue, you mean like someone who's kind of like very like basically like a very motivated reasoner, someone who won't get off like their initial position even when it's shown to be like false or something like this, or there's shown to be like some problem with it.
yeah, there's a spectrum to it, but
And
it
they
all
don't have to be aware. They don't have to be aware they're
Yeah.
doing that. It can be very
Yeah.
hard to see when that's happening if it is happening to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would and there's a spectrum to that. Like some people are a little bit ideological, moderately, severely ideological, but the what they all share in common is that they're, at least in the way I'm using the term, is that there's a problem, there's an epistemic problem that I'm talking about. There's a problem with their belief forming or belief changing process. So if someone can show that to me, if someone can say, hey, here's your track record of the things you believed, and then here's reality, and look how long it took you to like adjust your beliefs to reality or something like that, I'm happy to hear them, and I'm happy to reflect if that had any epistemic failures like that, or especially if there were a pattern of epistemic failures or anything like that. I'm happy to hear them out and try to adjust.
Okay. All right. I think that's. I mean, there's some other stuff I could talk about, but I think that's. Yeah. I mean, that's the main. That's really the main thing I wanted to discuss. So, unless you have anything else, I think that's.
Well, how much do you want to discuss the other stuff or not? I mean, it sounds like
I think
Yeah.
you guys should table it because I think whenever you have a conversation that goes south and then you resolve it, it's best to like once it's resolved, let it chill, come back, deal with the rest later if you don't have to. Because if it goes south again and then it's fucked and it sucks, it's like today was productive. Let's like call it quits there. And if you care enough about it tomorrow to want to resolve those things, just like message him or whatever.
yeah, this is part of my autism, and this is like
This is I know, and this is
yeah,
also motivated by me wanting to finish my
yeah,
workout.
gotcha. No,
So
my autism, I'm very, it bothers me when I don't like address, make good or address all grievances. Like knowing, like I've tabled, like I've ended the conversation, and like he still has problems with me, like that's gonna bother me. But yeah, that's just me. I'm happy to table it if that's in the best interest of all of us, in spite of that. But I'm just telling you what my motivations are.
Yeah. No, it's just I mean, there's a. No, it's fine. It's pretty little. Like, there's a couple things like, um, well, basically, like one, I'm just kind of curious um, what positions I have that you think are deranged or had, and then the other one was just, I mean, there's a couple things that you said in your debate with Ethan that I was, but that's another. I
I
feel like
think
that's probably a different
we went over
conversation.
two of them. We went over two of them already.
Uh huh.
One was the had. So one was a position you had. I take it you no longer have. Well, a couple of positions. I take it you no longer have the position that the speech that Benjamin Netanyahu gave is telling Gazans to literally leave Gaza.
No.
And I take it that you no longer have, because I do
Now,
take that.
when you say deranged, you just mean like because what do you mean when you say deranged there?
Yeah. So I mean out of touch. So combination of a couple things. Um, so it's a disjunction of some, like I don't have a strict necessary and sufficient conditions, but
That's fine. Yeah.
yeah. So one example would be like very much out of touch with reality. So that's one.
Uh-huh.
And also like it's the type of out of touch with reality that if someone did like their due diligence in investigating, like they would they would, and they were good faith, they would get in touch with reality pretty quickly. And a failure to do their due diligence and investigate. So, like, for example, if I were to post that there were, 40 babies beheaded
Right.
by Palestine, that would be a deranged anti-Palestine take. The reason it would be deranged anti-Palestine because it is out of touch with reality. It's false. The claim is false. That's, in fact, even on the interpretation that there were some beheadings, it would not be 40. And it would also be the case that I failed to do my due diligence in in ensuring that I keep my beliefs in touch with reality. So that would be an example of a deranged take.
Okay. Is
Mhm.
is the reason that you consider my view to be deranged just because it wasn't in touch with reality?
So in the case of the example with Benjamin Netanyahu, it was a combination of the fact that um, it was out of touch with reality, and if you had done your due diligence, you would have found, because there were plenty of. It wasn't just me making this correction. There were plenty of. You could find it within a few moments of googling this correction. And so it was. I take it to be two things. I take it to be your belief was out of touch with reality, and your belief was easily, if you did due diligence, your belief would have been easily corrected to the degree that you were willing to correct it. And it was clearly, and it was anti-Israel,
Um,
or at least
Hey
construed as
guys, I'm satisfied that you guys are gonna be able to have a reasonable conversation now. So I'm gonna back out. I might listen for a bit, but I'm micing off and I'm doing my
Yeah,
workout. So
okay,
it was
enjoy
nice
your
talking to you.
workout.
I'm
thanks.
glad that you guys kind of got back to getting along.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Um, y- not sorry, not to be like super pedantic. When you say like not doing my dude, because there were like news outlets that were reporting that translation.
Mhm. Yeah, but
Should I
even
have
the
like
news
looked at
outlets,
more?
no, it's even the news outlets, because even on the news outlets that were reporting the translation, there was still an underdetermination in the actual context. Because I looked at the news outlets that were reporting that translation, and the ones that actually reported the actual speech, like literally just one paragraph above, it would still be an underdetermination what he's referring to. It's just the underdetermination is more resolved with the true translation. So even if one is just relying on the news outlets reporting the mistranslation, I think the conclusion would just, in context, is just an underdetermination. Well, wait, what does this mean? Is he talking about? Is he talking about what he's referring? Leave what? Leave now? Leave what? Leave where? Leave the thing you're talking about one sentence ago, which is the Hamas target locations, or are you saying the people of Gaza? Leave Gaza. Um, so I to jump to the conclusion that even on the mistranslation, he's referring to leave Gaza. I still take that to be that would be out of touch with reality and not um, maybe not doing full diligence, but it would be out of touch with reality and unwarranted epistemically.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that would be an example. And then maybe like there's more like hyperbolic senses of deranged where it's like, for example, if like a carnist were to say, actually, no, you have to understand, like, it's actually a good thing for me to eat my grandma if I were running the trade.
Yeah.
Like that I would call that deranged, even though they're not like having a false belief, if assuming even if what they said was true, like I actually am Jeffrey Dahmer. Um, so like or something, or like basically something, even if it's not like morally abhorrent, like saying something like, oh well, when I consider like um going over to someone and giving them $1 million, I consider that a form of oppression. Like if someone were to say that to
Yeah.
me, I would say, okay, well that's just a deranged take. Um, even though they may truly believe that. And so like the other example that I gave, which is if Israel did have a law which would, um, Israel, or Israel's lack of having a law of taking Palestinian Israelis and forcing them to fight their own people, quote unquote,